Good evening everybody and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. My name is Councillor Paul Heath and I'm the Chairman of the committee. I will now go through a few items of housekeeping before we proceed with the main business of the meeting. We are not expecting a fire alarm this evening, but should one sound, please can members use the exit to the rear of the chamber and assemble in the car park. Please can you make sure that your phones and devices are switched to silent. If members wish to speak during our debates this evening, please can you indicate by raising your hand and I will come to you at the appropriate time. Please may I remind everyone to use their microphone when speaking and to switch them off when they have finished speaking. Please can I also remind you that this meeting is being webcasted. I will now proceed with the main business of the meeting, and that's item number 1, apologies for absence. Please, Jessica.
Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies for absence this evening from Councillor Jackie Martin, Councillor Wendy Taylor, Councillor Justin Wrench, and we have Councillor Prime in attendance as substitute for Councillor Wrench. Thank you.
And I believe that is all of us, so there are no further apologies. So I will proceed with item number 2, which is the declaration of interest. Do members have any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable interest or non-registrable interest that they wish to declare this evening? If so, please state the item and the nature of your interest. No, thank you. So we will now move to item number 3, which is the minutes of our previous meeting. Please could I have a proposer to approve the minutes as an accurate record of our meeting held on the 11th of June 2025. Councillor Rand, thank you. And a seconder, please. Thank you very much. The minutes have been moved and seconded as an accurate record. All those in favour, please indicate. And that is unanimous. Thank you. And therefore, the minutes are approved and I shall just sign them. Right, moving on to item number 4, which is public question time. Members, we have no registered speakers for this evening's meeting. Therefore, we will proceed with item number 5, which is the annual report of the Community Safety Partnership 2024/25. Members, this report is set out on pages 5 to 19 of our agenda for tonight's meeting. In attendance, we have Tracy Parry, Community Service Manager, James Scott, the Community Safety Officer, and Councillor Mary Cunningham, the Cabinet Member for Stronger Communities, to support the presentation, and I welcome you all. Over to you, please, Mary.
Thank you, Chairman, and can I thank you for inviting us to the Corporate Scrutiny Committee to present the report. I'm here as Cabinet Member, but also as Chairman of the Community Safety Partnership. So I'll hand over to Tracy, our Community Services Manager.
I hope I get the right button. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So the purpose of this report is to provide you with an overview of the work of the Community Safety Partnership during 2024 to 25. I will just begin talking about what a Community Safety Partnership is. So it's a statutory partnership. It's made up of representatives from the Council, Essex Police, Essex Fire and Rescue Service, the National Probation Service, the Mid and South Essex ICB, Essex County Council and East Light Community Homes. A Community Safety Partnership's main aim is really to protect local communities from crime and help people feel safer. All CSPs have a statutory requirement to conduct an annual strategic assessment, and this is where we receive numerous amounts of data from various partners across Essex. So that will be Essex Police data, fire data, probation, drug and alcohol services, domestic abuse, and we analyse that data, and that helps us to inform our key findings and recommendations for priorities moving forward. I would just also like to point out that whilst the Council lead on the Community Safety Partnership, we are an equal partner to all those other statutory partners that I have just mentioned. So for 2024-25, the CSP priorities were protect the vulnerable, promote healthy relationships, keep safe online, build community resilience and promote safety in our communities. The partnership has a governance framework. We have a responsible authority group which is chaired by Councillor Mary Cunningham and vice chaired by the District Commander Martin Richards. The Responsible Authority Group provides us with strategic overview and direction of our work. They sign off on the priorities, they sign off on the action plan, and they also sign off the strategic assessment also. The operational group is the Community Safety Hub, and this is a wider partnership, so it has all the statutory partners, but it also has a number of other organisations from both statutory and the voluntary sector. And we meet on a monthly basis. There's probably between 30 and 40 partners. And basically that meeting is to look at things like current crime trends, any enforcement that either the council, the police or housing associations have taken. We talk about rough sleepers. And we also have presentations in relation to organisations that are able to provide community safety activities and services. The hub also is an opportunity for us to discuss specific cases, so any partner can put forward a case, and that may be in relation to antisocial behaviour, exploitation and vulnerability. We also have a domestic abuse subgroup, and that also meets monthly, and that's where an individual has contacted us as the local authority for homelessness advice or an application to the housing register, but where they are fleeing domestic abuse. And again, that works on a case-by-case basis. The level of risk is looked at, and those partners put in place appropriate measures and interventions to manage the risk of the individual. We also attend county-wide groups, so we sit on Safer Essex, which is the county-wide community safety partnership, and we also sit on an operational community safety network where all community safety leads come together. We're also represented on the Antisocial Behaviour Strategic Group, the Multi-Agency Approach to Fraud, the Mid-Essex Missing and Child Exploited Group, the Prevent Delivery Group, and the Violence Against Women and Girls Strategic Group. So you have the annual report as part of the overall report, but I just wanted to pick out some key achievements from last year. So last year, we, as a partnership, were again successful in securing Safer Streets funding. So you'll recall when I was here last time, we spoke about Safer Streets Witham. In the last year, we were fortunate enough to receive just over £300,000 for Safer Street in Halstead. Safer Streets is about improving people's perception of safety, but it has a primary focus around violence against women and girls, neighbourhood crime and antisocial behaviour. The types of activities that funding was used for was around Halstead Town Council being able to employ a street warden, and that street warden being visible within Halstead Town Centre, but also being able to carry out patrols with the street scene enforcement team and the local policing team, neighbourhood policing team, sorry. It also funded Fusion at the time to deliver outreach sports programmes for young people. It extended the CCTV network, and it was also able to fund CARA, which is an organisation that deal with people that are current or historic victims of sexual abuse. And I think some of the figures within the report are still quite startling, particularly when you look at some of the ages of the young people that are accessing services around sexual abuse. We also delivered Crucial Crew. This is an annual event that we do for Year 6 pupils. And last year we had 492 Year 6 pupils come along to the event. And we have various partners there that provide an educational input around things like personal safety, healthy relationships, internet safety, road safety and exploitation. And we feel as a partnership that the earlier we can get in and educate young people around different community safety issues, the better. Our fire service colleagues, have carried out 601 safe and well safeguarding visits to residents across the district, and this is where they go in and offer personal safety advice and where necessarily signpost residents to other support services. They also have an education team that are able to go into schools, both primary and secondary, and they've been in and delivered things around cyber safety, firework Halloween campaigns, which obviously will be coming up soon, but things like gangs awareness, knife crime, healthy relationships, hate crime, and other things as well. Essex Police have a fraud prevention coordinator. She actually works across the whole of the North local policing area, but she will go out and deliver advice, provide information around safeguarding measures to various different community groups and organisations. And as you'll see from the report, she carried out 26 community events in 2024-25, which attracted 1,176 attendees. And she's also able to give out sort of things, you'll see things like the credit card holders, things to put your car keys in and things like that. So a really important information service for residents within our community. We also have a drug and alcohol support service in the district, and that works between Open Road and an organisation called Phoenix Futures. And they set up and provided a drop-in service for local residents that were seeking assistance with drug and alcohol dependency. And they had 26 referrals last year. This is brilliant for us. Previously, residents that had drug and alcohol issues had to go to Chelmsford or Colchester to seek their support. So, you know, being able to offer a local service in the district breaks down those barriers to those individuals that need that support. And then finally, the youth service, they delivered detached youth work out in our communities, particularly around child exploitation, where we had some hotspots, which is information that we get out of the missing and child exploited meetings that I referenced earlier. And again, that means we can engage with young people, we can educate them, and we can refer them on to other support services, some of which are around sort of training and employment, as well as sort of how to build resilience and mental health. So there are other achievements in the annual report, but those are the ones that I thought I would pick out this evening. From a finance point of view, the Community Safety Partnership is funded by the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. We have an annual budget of £14,111, and that's what we use to deliver against our action plan. Obviously, other partners are delivering things that are funded with it from their own organisations also. So that is the report, members. And the recommendations are for you as a committee to review the annual report and make any recommendations to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. I think that anybody, and especially my colleagues from Whittam, will be able to back this up. The Safer Streets initiative has been a fantastic success round in Whittam. If Halstead get anywhere near our level, then it's definitely another gold star to you, Tracy. I mean, the team that have delivered this funding forward deserves all the praise it gets and more. Thank you. Members, please. Councillor Holland.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The first question is relevant to 3.1. I represent the North of the District. Sorry, this is slightly parochial, but I noticed that Mid and South Essex ICB is noted, but for the people in the northern wards here, they're not served by this organisation. So, first point is the care board that serves the northern communities. Does it feed into these activities at all? Do you liaise with them? And the other thing is that for these sorts of services you're describing, all of which I find hugely laudable and very, very important, but there are important to all communities. So do you collaborate with South Suffolk on these matters? Because we have border communities, as you realise, and so I'm trying to find out how this work extends out as far as the northern border and whether there is liaison beyond that border.
Okay, so the answer in relation to the other ICB is no, but I do think that's something that we should be looking at. The county-wide Community Safety Partnership obviously has representation from other ICBs on it, so that's how that works.
And if I may, Chair, just one other. When we look at programmes like Safer Streets, which is super important, and once again, this is my interest is slightly parochial because the nearest town within our district for us in the northern wards is Halstead. Super important, highly commendable that this is being instituted there. And what the question I'm going to ask is in no sense diminishing of the excellent work that this report represents. What I note throughout the report are what I would essentially regard as inputs. So they're the interventions and the actions we take in order to address known issues and problems. But what I don't see in the report is outputs. And I note what our chairman has already said, and I know that he's absolutely right in this. But to some extent, that's an anecdotal assessment, and I'm not diminishing his comments at all. It's an anecdotal assessment. Do we have an assessment system to work out whether the interventions we are putting into place are delivering? And I think this is a reasonable question to ask, because not only is there societal need that they're effective, there's also cost implications inside this. So is my question clear enough? I know it's rambling.
Yeah, no. I think some of the things are quite difficult to evidence whether they've worked at the end of an initiative, because obviously we're talking about individuals, for example. So you could have, I'll use an example of a victim of domestic abuse. You can put the intervention in, but obviously whether or not it's been highly successful is a couple of years down the line, for example. But I do take your point, and I think it was something that you raised last time as well, and it's something that we're looking at across not just this CSP, but all CSPs, because even with things like, you know, when you're putting an intervention in for a young person, again, it's a long time down the line, and it's about having how you can track that. So I think it's something that we're working on, and obviously we've gone back to some of the partners as well, because obviously we don't deliver all of these things, and we've gone back to them and said, you know, how are you measuring not just outputs? Numbers are great, but what, as you say, what is the impact? So I think it's a bit of a work in progress and something that we'll build on over the next couple of years.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one more then. Has this authority ever, or these group of organisations ever looked to getting that sort of work done by an academic institution?
Yeah, there has been some work. I mean, so some of the work that we've done around violence against women and girls, it's been led by Safer Essex, and they've used Anglia University. So yes, there is some work with academics.
Councillor Ramage, please.
Very much. Thank you, Tracy, for what you do as a group of people in the organisation. It's a fantastic portfolio you have to deal with, and yeah, all sorts of stuff. But there are a couple of points that come out, and in particular, Halstead. I noticed there's an amount of money of £300,000. And does that come from different sources? All that, is it a collective figure, or and what is that actually paid towards as such?
So the funding comes, so when we did Safer Streets Whittam, it came from the Home Office. When we did Safer Streets Housestead, it came from the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. So that figure is funding that we got from the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner. And then all the activities are what are delivered from that funding, along with, so we've got a Safer Streets Projects Officer that coordinates the partners and the projects and the monitoring and the evaluation.
And is that a one-off payment, or is there an ongoing sort of
No.
drip of money? Or
It was a one-off payment for an 18-month programme.
right? And how are you finding that actually working as such? I mean, how long has it been in place?
So Housestead has just finished. And what we try and do, so we have a steering group of the partners that are delivering the different interventions. We work with them throughout the process to identify future funding streams as well. So Whittam and Housestead Town Council have got further funding for street wardens. Cara, for example, have gone to other funding streams so that they can carry on the work. It's not a never-ending funding stream. It is for that period of time. But as I say, what we try and do is work with those partners to identify other funding sources so that those services can not necessarily become completely sustainable, but can be maintained. Because obviously, you know, if you're working with individuals, particularly that are victims of sexual abuse, you don't want to stop working with them after a set period because they may still need that support. So we keep that ongoing work and identifying funding for partners.
You touched on street wardens, and
Yeah.
the chair made reference to Whittam.
Yeah.
That's been a very effective.
Yeah.
I know personally because I speak to him quite regularly, and
Yeah.
especially with the local businesses as well. And that's important because, you know, if we get somebody breaking in a shop or something, then it's passed down the line. But,
Yeah.
a couple other things, if we could, is sleep, rough sleepers.
Yeah.
How has that gone over the last year or so? I mean, with the current climate as it is, are you finding there's an increase?
So yes, we have seen a slight increase in rough sleepers, and not me personally, but our housing officers have just set up a rough sleeping partnership that met first Monday.
This Monday,
I just
yeah.
remember where I was. So that met first on Monday. That has again a number of partners around the table, and where those are verified rough sleepers, and when I mean verified, a street link alert has been put into Chess, who are an organisation that we work with. They go out, try and find the individual or individuals, and try and engage with them. And the whole point of this partnership is to how, as collectively, we can hopefully stop these people from rough sleeping and get them into accommodation. That is easier said than done. Some of our rough sleepers are entrenched rough sleepers, and we can't force them to engage with services. So it's a new partnership, and we're hoping it's going to be really, really successful.
Just one more question, Jeff, if you mind. Youth clubs.
Yep.
I've got one in my ward, and they've always been struggling to find funds to keep it going. What is it, you know, can the CPS or anything do about that? Because they used to get funding from county,
Yeah.
and that dried up as such. And I'm just interested to see what you can do to help.
So, as I said, as a partnership, we have £14,000 a year. But what we do, so most recently we've sent out, including to all the youth clubs in the district, the PFCC has a Community Safety Development Fund, the Violence and Vulnerability Unit has a fund, so any funding that we're aware of, we will always send out to youth groups or any other organisations and, you know, encourage them to apply for it or contact us to have those discussions. So that sort of information has been sent out to youth groups. Obviously, you've got your councillors' community grants.
I'm going to say I've already supported them through that already. So,
Yeah.
but it's just that, you know, there's still shortfalls as such, you know.
Yeah, no, and I know, we know the people that run the youth club in Whittam, so that they're quite used to coming to us and asking questions. And obviously, as I say, you know, there isn't a never-ending resource of money. So as any funding streams that we're aware of, we will always put out to our community and voluntary groups.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Bevis, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Tracy and Councillor Cunningham, for that report. I mean, I have to be honest, I've sat on various boards at the LGA over the years, and this would be as good as any to put in front of other councils, actually. It really is. There's a lot packed in there, and I appreciate, you know, you do what you can with the money that you have, and obviously the extra funding we bring in is really important. And you know, obviously we're going to be going through a huge period of change in local government, and so, for example, county have had money in on county lines and prevent, and so all of that will be changing, and I think we just got to prepare ourselves for that. I've got just a couple of observations, really. I take on board the point around Housestead and Whittam. What is the next plan for Braintree Town Centre? Nothing specific. I'm just interested whether there is more to do there, and because I know, you know, over the years I've done stuff as well, and I just know that we've done some really good work in the town. And so, what's next for Braintree? And the other thing I just wanted to raise about the villages is I absolutely get where Councillor Holland is coming from, but I mean, I represent a key service village. It's really busy. There's always stuff going on. And quite frankly, I don't know where we'd be without our parish council partnership working with the police. We see the police a lot, not specifically because there's anything wrong, but we're delivering projects. And in fact, we had some vandalism this week in the village, and we've just jolly well rolled up our sleeves and got on with it, working with the police ourselves. And I think we always will. Which comes back again, I guess, a bit to the Braintree question around stronger partnership and more funding to deliver more projects. And just in that, if this is what we've delivered in the last year and we're looking ahead, you as a team, what else is on your list of things to do that you think, wouldn't it be good to be able to do that? I mean, you're asking us, but you as a committee must also be thinking, I'd love to go and do that. And I just wondered what those things were. Thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
I'll try and remember all of them. So from Braintree Town point of view, we have been successful in getting Safer Streets funding again, and I'm glad you just brought that up. So we've got £138,619 to be precise.
Is that for the current year?
Yes.
Oh, that's you've answered my question. Brilliant.
Yeah, but also I think members, you're all aware of the issues that we've had in Braintree Town Centre. We have the Public Spaces Protection Order in the town centre. Braintree was also identified across the county in the top 10% for ASB. So last year we had, and when I say we, the partnership had Op Dial, which was around having more hotspot policing. So through the Braintree Town team, you'll see them out and about a lot more in Braintree Town Centre. And then this year, they've rebranded it and called it Op Guardian, because we like to change the names of our operation. So we've got some further funding, which means not only for the police, but it means that our street scene enforcement team can go out, not necessarily, you know, during normal office hours, and also the other communities team. So we've got data around broken down into days of the week and times, so we know the times, and so we're doing things like Saturdays monthly. We're doing days and nights of action. So with nights of action, we'll go out and we'll give out spiking merchandise to the licensed premises. We'll talk about Ask for Angela. The licensing team will go out and look at taxi drivers and things like that. So there's quite a lot of work going on. And then on top of that, we've got the Safer Streets. So that's literally about to start. So all the governance documents and everything are now in place. So that's the Braintree bit. And now I've forgotten the other bit, sorry.
They were my two main. My other bit was really what else is kind of bubbling away that
Okay.
you'd love to deliver if you had maybe 24,000.
Oh, what would we like to deliver, James? So we're still doing some work around violence against women and girls. And the focus for this year is going to be around licensed premises outside of town centres, but also parks and open spaces. So we'll see what that looks like. We've seen some data, but we haven't seen it all yet. So there'll be some more work. I think we need to do some more work around violence against women and girls. And for me, really, it's the more we can do with young people and being able to, you know, do that more early intervention and prevention and raising awareness so that we're keeping what are young people now safe and as they grow into adults safer. So I think they're probably... You've got any thoughts?
Only on road safety, perhaps we can look at some stuff to do with that in the coming years. Because we've had the PSPO consultation for vehicular nuisance. That's just finished as well. So that's something we're looking to implement depending on the results of the consultation.
Councillor Bond, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. As this wasn't a question, it was just really an observation based on the comment that the Chairman started off. From a housing perspective, I think we see this very useful as pump priming in terms of giving an opportunity to find how we can work further on those projects. And I think we've managed to see a change from sort of silo working into team working, where that makes an enormous difference to response times and the quality of support. And obviously we're also actively making sure that we keep the street warden for as long as we possibly can, because that has certainly received a lot of great support anecdotally, but that is important on the streets when people say to you how useful it is to see someone about in town, and also working with the police when they're in town as well, which is quite often as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? I would just like to add, though, as you said in your report, it's what happens in year 3, 4, 5 and 6 and onwards. Because I've noticed in the couple and a bit years that I've been here now, is that we've not necessarily got more rough sleepers, but we collectively have got better at noticing them and reporting them. So there could seem to be more. So until we've got a true level, we can't actually start to bring it down, can we? But no, thank you very much to all three of you for coming along tonight and presenting your report. We've had the report, members. Oh, sorry, Mary.
Sorry, can I just give a quick sort of roundup? Firstly, I think probably on behalf of all members, I would like to thank Tracy and her team, James, and there are others involved in the admin side of it, for the work they do. I see they are passionate about keeping our district safe. The residents are at the heart of what they do. And it was actually interesting that Councillor Beavis mentioned the LGA. I actually attended an online course and I met my counterpart on that, and listening, I think she was from Cheshire, I think, but listening to what the actual dealings she has with the police were much, much less than I have. I mean, and I think that's part of the success of this, that we do have an excellent working relationship between the District Council and the police, and the other partners too, but those two key elements. I get involved in the briefing monthly. I can take things that perhaps I've heard to the briefing. They are very open. And in response to the other thing, as we go forward, for LGR, I think one of the key things that we have to do is to actually keep our partners, the great partnerships that we've got at the moment, with us on board, and absolutely keep their involvement, because I mean, I'm a big fan of partnership. All my working life has been as part of a partnership, and I think, you know, if you can get partners to work together, you can reach that goal so much better. So thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry to reopen this, but one of the reasons I think it's really important, the issue that I raised around collaboration with organisations that are actually the ones that are actually serving the northern communities within this district. One of the reasons I'm very keen on that is because with reference to LGR, yes, we need to keep our existing partnerships, but we're actually going to need new ones. And one of those will be with the Primary Care Trust, which is actually serving the northern communities. So it will need reframing to some extent. So I think that that makes it all the more important to try and build those relationships ahead of that substantial change in local government. The other thing, if you'll forgive me, Chairman, the recommendation is to review the annual report, which I believe we've done, but also there's a second. I'll start again. With respect to the recommendations at 2.1, there are two aspects to it. One of them is to review the annual report, which I believe we have done. But the other one is to make recommendations to Cabinet, which we haven't done. And I would argue that it might well be the case that to try and do that on the spot on an evening like this might not get the best out of what members have learnt. And so a question, how do we take forward any recommendations which we might derive from this evening, but not on this evening? Because it seems very important that we learn what we can from these sessions and maximise our outputs from these meetings. So how do we, is there a mechanism that we, flowing from this evening, we can develop recommendations that we might pass on to Cabinet? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. That was the point I was trying to work out, and Emma's going to respond.
Thank you, Chairman. So, members, what you're looking at tonight is the Community Safety Partnerships Report. This is not a report of Braintree District Council or Braintree District Council's Cabinet. It's specifically of the statutory partnership that comes together and delivers that work. Every year this is brought forward because the law requires it to come to a scrutiny committee of the organisation to examine their report and to put questions to you. With greatest respect, you've had the report with the publication of the agenda, and once you get that report, then that's when you would start to read through. If there is no obvious recommendations that you feel that you need to make to the Cabinet, which would be ultimately addressed by the partnership because there's not an obvious line of action, you had the call for topics of the scrutiny for the scrutiny programme, and that's one of the things that could come through. But as we always advise, if a topic comes forward through members' day-to-day business work and consideration, members can ask for matters to be reviewed as part of the scrutiny programme. So unless there's an obvious recommendation that you feel you need to make to Cabinet to communicate to the partnership through the Cabinet member appointed to that, because obviously, sorry, it's not obvious, the chairman of the Community Safety Partnership does not have to be a district councillor. It does not have to be our Cabinet member. It's just so how it has happened over years. When I first started working with this committee, the chairman of the partnership was actually the divisional commander, operational officer, so uniformed officer, so took that over. So we do need to be clear, this is not about making recommendation on the council's involvement. So unless there's something that you've seen within that report that you feel that needs to have a line of inquiry, then you would then need to consider what it is you want to do and then see if you can put it forward on the work programmes or to raise it through the part of the agendas where we are probably looking at next about the work programme for the respective areas, because depending on what it is you want to explore will depend which scrutiny committee has jurisdiction over it.
I've listened carefully to that, and I think I understood some of it. However, during our discussions this evening, Tracy's very helpfully answered questions from me, which is about how do you measure and report on the outputs, because there isn't really outputs listed in this report. And so what I would like to propose is that, because it says and make recommendations to Cabinet, what I'd like to propose is that this committee recommends to Cabinet that it institutes a process to look at whether it's possible sensibly and without undue cost to start looking at the outputs of these interventions. Is that not a reasonable thing to do? And I'm proposing it, so if everybody else thinks I'm talking nonsense, they're welcome to vote me down. But I do think that's right and proper.
Councillor Booth?
Thank you, Chairman, for that, and thank you, Councillor Holland, for your comments. I mean, how I feel about this is that a minute should go back, or a minute will go back from tonight's meeting to Cabinet, that we've carefully considered and had a good presentation and understood the report. But from what I've seen this evening, we don't actually have a recommendation. And Emma has explained to us what we could do if we wanted to take this further. Personally, I don't as a member, because I feel and know the work that's done by the committee and indeed the Cabinet member as well. There's a lot packed into this that probably actually isn't in this report this evening. And I'm also jolly mindful of the time we have left as a committee and indeed the time of this council and what else we do need to consider. So I do understand the point that Councillor Holland made, but I don't personally feel the need to support that line this evening. Thank you, Chairman.
Do we have a seconder for Councillor Holland's proposal, please? No.
Chairman, if there's no second for the recommendation, then it naturally falls away, I'm afraid. But Councillor Holland, I can speak to you outside the meeting as to other ways that we may be able to look at this for you, rather than have that conversation this evening.
I'd like to be clear that I absolutely accept the decision of this committee. Not a problem at all.
Right. So could we have a proposed... can we note the report, please? Thank you. Right. Thank you, members. The report has been noted and approved. I don't wish to repeat everything that Mary said, but I would like to thank Tracy, James and Mary for coming along tonight and presenting the report. It is, as you know, it's one of the most eagerly discussed reports in this committee, and thank you for your attendance. You are welcome to stay, but free to leave.
Thank you.
Right. Before we move on to item number 6, members, we're just going to have a little bit of a musical chairs. We'll move on to item number 6 now, which is the full quarter and annual performance report. This report is set out on pages 20 to 63 of our agenda and will be presented by Tom Williams, Corporate Performance Coordinator, and Tracy Helford, People and Performance Manager, who is also present to support the report. We also have this evening a number of Cabinet members in attendance, and welcome to you all. This is because, as you know, members, at times matters are raised that are in the performance report that it is not fair or right for Tom or Tracy to have to answer. So hopefully, rather than have the delay in getting the answer, we may be able to get it straight tonight. So it's a start. And before I invite the officers to present their report, please can we be aware that the report reflects the Council's performance up until the end of March only, and there will not be any updates provided tonight on the Council's current position. This is because the report for this evening was only presented to the Cabinet in July due to the timing of meetings. The report on the Council's current position will be presented to the Cabinet later this month, after which point it will be presented to us again at our next scheduled meeting in November. Tom, please can I invite you to present your report?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. So the report before you tonight, as mentioned, demonstrates the performance of the Council to the end of the fourth quarter, March 25, but it also provides a summary of the annual performance, April 24 to the end of March 25. And again, as mentioned, the report was presented to Cabinet on the 28th of July. The position at the end of the fourth quarter and at the end of the year was that 30 projects had been completed, with 11 projects remaining on track and 2 projects off track. 10 performance indicators had missed their target, with 7 achieving their target. Over the course of the fourth quarter, 20 projects completed, including notable outcomes such as the trial of the Landlord Incentive Scheme, which provided secure housing to 51 households and secured funding to continue into the following financial year. The contract was awarded for the construction of the Whittam Community Centre. The Beat the Street scheme was delivered and concluded, engaging over 11,000 residents across the district. The Council of Community Grants scheme awarded over £77,000 to various community projects. Planning permission was awarded for the remaining plots at Horizon 120. Work to confirm the viability of the Whittam Enterprise units developed options to deliver on the sites. Play areas were refurbished across Braintree and Sybil Headingham. The solar canopy was completed at Whittam Leisure Centre, and the Shared Prosperity Fund supported 11 community decarbonisation initiatives across the district. At the end of the fourth quarter, 2 projects had an amber status, one of those being the Whittam and Housestead Town Centre regeneration works, where permissions were still being sought for Phase 2 works on Essex Highways assets, and the design supplementary planning document, where resourcing challenges necessitated a review of the project timeline. And further information on all projects is available within the full report. At the end of the year, 7 performance indicators had met their target or exceeded their target, but 10 had not. The performance indicators that had not met their target, of the performance indicators that had not met their target, 4 had missed their target by less than 5% and 6 had missed their target by more than 5%. The performance indicators which missed target by less than 5% was the percentage of household waste recycled, the percentage of fly tips cleared within 24 hours, the percentage of invoices paid on time, and the collection rate for council tax. The indicators which missed their target by more than 5% was the number of visitors to leisure centres, the kilograms of residual waste collected per household, the percentage of disabled facilities grants approved within timescales, the percentage of calls resolved at the first point of contact in the customer service centre, the average number of days to process housing benefit claim changes, and the percentage of stage 1 complaints resolved within timescales. And again, further detail for all performance indicators can be seen within the main report. The revenue outturn position at the end of the fourth quarter showed a positive variance of £2.6 million after allowing for carry forwards proposed by services approved by the Cabinet Member for Finance Resources and Performance. Treasury management income significantly exceeded budget due to a combination of higher for longer interest rates and larger cash balances being managed. The garden waste subscription service also exceeded budget expectations. It was clear, this was the first subscription year, and therefore prudent approach had been adopted based on the experience of other local authorities. As the positions were being reported through the in-year budget monitoring, income targets for both these areas were increased for the 25-26 budget. Income from the council tax sharing agreement with the major preceptors was also higher, reflecting an increased tax yield and sustained collection performance in the year. Asset management reported an adverse position, primarily due to unresolved issues relating to service charges where provisions for increased cost and or lower income have been made. And these provisions will be kept under review in 25-26. Environment incurred increased staffing costs in building control, where a difficult labour market exists at the time new regulatory requirements have increased the demand on the service, and there was a shortfall of income against budget. The overall position for sustainable development continued to improve quarter on quarter, but still reflected a significant underachievement of income, mainly on planning applications. However, this was partially offset by underspends on staffing and the receipt of one-off government funding. Capital expenditure for the year was £5.7 million, with the main areas of spend being on community facilities, sports and leisure facilities, climate change actions, shared prosperity projects, operational vehicles and equipment, and grants for residential disability adaptations. There is an underspend, or rather there was an underspend across several projects totalling £517,000, and £4.5 million worth of budgets have been reprofiled into the 25-26 for continuing projects. The outturn position is subject to finalisation and audit of the statement of accounts. Significant variances contained in the report position have already been reflected in the budget for 25-26. However, further work will be undertaken to assess whether future adjustments are necessary as planning commences for next year's budget cycle. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Before we take any questions, can I remind members again that we are here to examine the performance of the council and the contents of the report, not to delve into the details of individual projects. In addition, whilst the Cabinet are able to assist with answering questions which relate to the performance report, the Cabinet's attendance this evening is not an opportunity for members to ask general questions of the Cabinet outside the report. That you'll have to wait till Monday. Thank you. Members, please. Councillor Abbott.
Thank you, Chairman. Sounds like a list of things we're not allowed to do. The first thing I would do is to raise the point I've made previously, which is on page 22. It says there are no options to consider as a result of this report and no next steps. So this is the main quarterly report of the performance of the council, and apparently this main scrutiny committee of the council has basically no ability to report back directly on any specific terms. I wanted to raise a couple of questions, please. First relates to the headline points on page 21 about the solar canopy at Whittam Leisure Centre, and underneath that the bullet point about community decarbonisation initiatives. And then there's more detail on page 41 about the solar panels at Whittam Leisure Centre, which I completely support. I supported the original solar panels on the roof. But I come back to the point I've made before. Where is the same enthusiasm for projects which are promoted locally? I have proposed solar panels for Rivenhall Village Hall and Silver End Village Hall, which is going to have its roof replaced. You'd think that was a good opportunity to put solar panels on. And members will know I stand up at full council and often ask questions about projects in the ward, and then nothing happens for months. The gentlemen and ladies there sat there know that I do this. I get no phone calls, I get no emails, I get no pointers as to how we move these projects forward. Some of them have been going on for years. Now, if I was, if a person was just curious, they might say that, well, not a very balanced approach, given all these other projects going forward. If they were cynical, they might say there's political bias going on. Why are the projects in Rivenhall and Silver End never progressed when we keep asking, and even when funding comes up? That's me, Bob Wright, and the local parish councils who support these projects, would love to hear from the Cabinet members and officers so we can promote and move forward on some of these very similar projects in our local areas which the residents support. My next question relates to page 41 about the climate partnership. Why is there no backbench member involvement in the climate projects? We used to have it, members used to take part, but that seems to have closed down now. And then finally on recycling, pages 49 and 50, can I say very clear presentation in the report of the performance. I think it's really good the way that's presented with the bar charts and the percentages. It's really clear. It's a bit worrying on the recycling trends. We are, what was the year-end position was less than 50%. So we seem to be sort of still bubbling along and not really progressing. I know we've got the new scheme coming in next year. Perhaps that'll move it. But we are a long, long way from progressing up to the sort of levels that the County Council and this Council have been talking about for years. My question, though, specifically relates to the recycling contamination rate on page 50. So does that in any way affect the performance rate? So in other words, is the 48% actually what we're doing, or have you got to take any contamination off of that? And also, does that contamination rate affect the residual waste rate? In other words, is that going straight into, in effect, the black bin stream? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor. Before I invite any members of Cabinet to speak, I can answer your question about the contamination rate. Yes, it does affect recycling rate and the residual rate, but those effects are already accounted for in the reported figures. So they are the end figures, but yes, it would be higher if the contamination wasn't present. In terms of your question around projects in Silver End and Rivenhall, were there any members who would like to comment? Councillor Bowers.
Who would like to go first?
Well, only to say, Chairman, I'm awfully sorry, Councillor Abbott, but I don't recall receiving an email from you about the leisure centre solar panels or anything else. I thought I'd missed something, sorry.
In relation to projects, not so much the solar panels at the Woodham Leisure Centre, which I take on board that Councillor Abbott supports, in regards the Silver End Village Hall, to use that as a main example of what's been discussed before in this chamber. And that is one of the projects that we're putting forward as part of the Community Asset Fund, which, granted, I know Councillor Abbott hasn't supported yet, but I think he will. I'd like to think he will support the investment of £500,000 in Silver End. In regards to solar panels, as I did say in this chamber when that question was asked, I did say it was a definite no. There are work still ongoing because part of the project there has to be business cases. I mean, they have to be financially viable as we move forward with these situations. And I haven't updated you yet because there's nothing concrete to update you with, but I will be updating you and Councillor Wright as soon as I can give you some more concrete information. I have these discussions as part of that business case as we move forward, and that is still definitely on the horizon at the moment. It's, like I said, it's not a definite no, and I'm hoping I will be able to give some positive news, but it's something that we do take seriously as a cabinet, as used in that project as an example. So I think it's unfair at this stage to say that we don't listen. No one's told you a no, and it's only been not that long since that was brought to cabinet. Thank you, Chairman.
And the Bowls Club, 4 years, 4 straight refusals, and Rivenhall Village Hall.
I'd rather not get into the to and fro on individual projects tonight, but I'm conscious we are only talking about the performance report. But you have had whether you agree with them or not, the reasoning behind certain things like the Silver End Bowls Club in certain situations where there are pieces that we don't own and you asking us to do stuff that is not sort of our responsibility, and there has been investment that has been provided, but it doesn't always. There's situations where literally if we can't do everything over the whole district at the end of the day, and but there have been answers being given in regards to what we've done in Silver End, and like I say, we're now proposing to invest £500,000 in Silver End. It would be nice for you to say thank you.
Chairman, could I just please remind the committee that you are actually reviewing the performance reports rather than using it as a hook to start other conversations with the Cabinet. The Cabinet are here at their own request to support the 2 officers who are here tonight who present the report on behalf of the organisation. So please, could you please be reminded that though whilst the office, it is tempting to want to have conversations with Cabinet, you're here to examine the performance report. And in examining the performance report over various quarters, that is where you are looking for things that maybe should be subject to a scrutiny review or a line of inquiry. So whilst I appreciate that members do have a number of things in their ward and that they're interested in their capacity as ward councillors, you are not here with your ward councillor hat on. That sits in your background with your knowledge. You are here to serve the function of being the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. You bring all that knowledge together, but the purpose of tonight is to examine the performance and to identify whether there are things that should be subject to examination, where there are trends and themes which you can then evidence through the performance reports. I just make that plea now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the report as well. As Councillor Abbott said, I think that the graphics do really help. It helps me understand what I'm actually looking at. But there's a few questions I've got. On page 47, you've got the number of homeless cases prevented. Obviously, we're not successful in stopping all homelessness cases. Is there figures for ones that we haven't? And then are we communicating that with Tracy's team? And how is that being captured? Possible. And then another one about how many cases are solved by the customer service team. Are we tracking how? Now I've made some complaints to Councillor Bowers before about the time it takes to actually answer the phone. Are we recording how long it is to actually answer these calls? Because that is complaints I get regularly, and I've tried it myself calling up and it just rings. So have we got figures for something like that? But to go on some good news, I think, there's some really good pieces on there, especially, I'm going to annoy Emma here, but there's some good pieces for Whittam there. The community centre come in, the potential look at the estate, the skate park in our ward, and Councillor Ramage, but, still frustrating that we're still stuck on the phase 2 works, but we'll get there. But, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom.
Thank you. I can answer both of those questions. The answer is yes, in short. The performance indicators that are presented in the report are a selection of summary indicators for key issues or areas as well. So there is a whole suite of performance indicators that sit behind those that also support the delivery of those services. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. With regard to the homelessness, obviously, we would like to be able to provide a property to every single person who walks through the door. However, you know as well as what I do, every case has to be investigated. What we now do is we run intervention, which actually precludes a lot of homelessness. It stops it, and that's what we want to do. We don't want people turning up on the doorstep, as in years gone by, saying they're homeless. We want them to come to us before that, and that way we prevent it. Nobody goes away from this authority who are homelessness properly. They may think they are, but they're not always technically, legally homeless. There's different situations. What we are dealing with now is much more complex issues that are taking a lot longer to investigate and to look at and to consider, and that is county-wide. It's not just this district, it's with everything. So they may take a little bit longer, but we help every single person who comes through that door. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Councillor Beavers, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and yes, thank you for the report and for the Cabinet members for being here this evening as well. I did catch one of them in the foyer last evening, and I did say I was pleased that Cabinet was going to be here. A couple of my bits have already been picked up around residual waste and also the calls, which I just, just highlight that I had them on my list. For me, the other three are sort of social gritty bits really around DFGs, the disabled facility grants. I know there's always been an issue around that. and I know some of it's funding related, but just a bit of an update on where we are with that going forward. Housing benefit claimants as well in the red, and where are we going to improve that figure? And also something that I've raised over the period at full council, and I appreciate COVID was a big issue in this, and that was our visitors to our leisure centres, and what is the reason? Is it still just catch up from COVID, or is there something else? Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Tom, please.
I don't think I'm going to be able to provide specific answers on any of your questions right now, unfortunately. If any of the members are happy to come in, then I'll advise.
On your last one, because I remember that first, on the visitors to leisure centre, it's no secret that the figures that we were given from the previous provider were totally incorrect, and that was due to their system, and I questioned that constantly about the figures that we were providing. But basically the bottom line is that their system and the figures that were going through the gate were not the same, basically. And I did make the point that how can anybody run a business when they don't know how many people are actually physically coming through the door? That will be completely different now. Freedom are using a totally different system, and I expect, and I have already said this to the Chief Executive, that not our Chief Executive, the Chief Executive of Freedom, that I expect correct figures coming to me to see what is actually going on. But you're right, COVID did have a massive effect on it, but I don't think that we ever got the true figures from that day onwards, to be perfectly honest with you, so it is a bit of a worry. On the DFG grants, there was a time last year when I was so concerned that we were actually going to run out of money. But we haven't done that. We have managed to claw back some from East Light, and the biggest problem is staffing to do it. But they are there, and I was quite pleased to learn last week that, as you well know, we spend every single penny that we get, and there's some authorities that actually don't spend a penny of it, which absolutely amazes me in this day and age. But we do spend every penny, but we struggle with getting the staff to do it. But it will be done, but it is making it slow at this moment in time. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bowers, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just in regards to the housing benefit part of the question, as part of the local, I know this is referenced in the report, but as part of the local council tax support scheme, we have seen a reduction in the caseload, but the caseload numbers, the cases seem to be more complex. So that's why there's been the majority of cases are fine and dealt with in the timescales, but some of these complex cases, that's the reasoning. It's being monitored as we move forward with changes and that kind of thing. So I can't give you sort of specifics, but we are aware of it. It's just that's complex nature, and we are on top of that. Thank you.
Councillor Ramage, please.
Yeah. I'm specifically looking at an item called asset management on page 59, and particularly a couple of things that stick out on me, but on the basis of that they are still making money, but there is an indication here that there's certain things like units seem to be vacant, and I know we're talking about back in March now, so all I'm wondering is that sort of been resolved since then, or are we still struggling to get them to be taken up? And also the other thing I noted in the report, there was reference to business startups weren't as, they seem to be slowing down, and I just wonder if you could give me an indication, has that changed since?
Please.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ramage. Thank you, Chairman. I think in relation to the asset management part of your question, overall I think the occupancy rates are good for the district. I guess it depends on what part you're looking at. When we're looking at the plaza, like we're over sort of 90%, but there are people come and people go and that kind of thing. So there is quite a bit of a natural churn in that. I don't think we've got any sort of concerns. You're right. Asset management property function does bring in a big chunk of money for the authority that obviously it's fed into the revenue budget. I think on here gives the the to and fro kind of thing on the positive and the negative. I don't think we feel we have an issue with the occupancy, but there is natural churn that we will naturally see. I think some of the parts in the table on the adverse variance over the year is also some of the changes that maybe we have done, say in the plaza when some of the space has been repurposed for something different than we had in the original business plan. Yeah, and because we've budgeted for one thing, then you'll naturally get a variance, but then as we repurpose that budget for the next year in regards to how things are going, that should address that. But overall things are in a good place, but there are some sort of challenges there with that and some of the sort of service costs and that kind of thing. But
I mean, we're in a positive situation as such, and with the income side of it, but just that the units that haven't been fully utilised, that's where I'm coming from, and that on the back of that we got the business startups, and I'm wondering, could that be something which we could focus on getting them used by them sort of organisations?
I think it's something we're looking at. I don't know if Councillor Ritchie wants to come in about the business startups, but it's something that our sort of economic development team work with the asset management team in regards to properties and that kind of thing. And you've also got the situation where you've got things like, say, using Horizon as an example, where people are in sort of Swingwood Drive and that kind of thing, then you outlive that and to go into the bigger sites and that's part of like the EOS buildings we've also got on Horizon 120 in the next size, rather than going to like some of the bigger sites as you're moving up, because we want these employers to stay in the district that are already here, but also those that are starting up. You need to give them the sort of foot on the ladder each way as you go along. So I think that is all part of the considerations, and I think we work as much as we can to support that development of business to keep it in the district.
Can I will just let Councillor Ritchie reply, and also as Emma said, can we ensure that we stay on the project we're doing tonight, not on projects that may be coming forward?
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, committee members. Just to add to the point that Councillor Bowers made, absolutely, that's the whole idea of the hatchery, Councillor Ramage, is we'd rather see smaller businesses succeed in a smaller nucleus rather than maybe overstep their ambition and move into properties that they might not be able to financially afford. So I think this is just about a timing issue, and we fully support new businesses, and we do fully support those that are looking to make the next step. But at the moment, we're fully focused on getting those newer businesses into the hatchery and becoming established before they make the next move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Holland, please.
Thank you, Chairman. At a previous meeting, our monitoring officer explained to us with respect to this report, our task is to assess whether the council overall is performing well or not. And I'd like to thank Tom for what I regard an exemplary report in terms of the way in which it's done and its comprehensive nature, the presentation. I'm still going to badger him about explaining acronyms at first use, DFGs or whatever. This is a public document, so I do think we should be careful about that. So overall, the picture I got from reading this is that financially we are in a good place. Considering the times that we're in, this council appears to be functioning from a fiscal point of view very well. And that is the picture I get from this. There are, within this report, various areas, though, that are some cause for slight concern, but overall my picture of this report is that there are no significant causes for concern for me that flow from this report. I've noted that we, as Councillor Bowers-Flint has already pointed out, sometimes when we get a red flag on one of these, when I look at it, I think to myself, well, if we haven't got reliable data to base it on, is this cause for concern? To me, the answer is no. You can only make sensible determinations about our performance based on sound data. And if we don't have it, for whatever reason, from an outside organisation, there's not a tremendous amount we can do about it. I also get the impression across the entire report that one of our significant issues that hampers performance is recruitment. And that is a problem across society, as far as I can work out. Everybody has this problem. We do not have the expert people out there sitting waiting to come and join us in order to help us achieve more. So my point here is that in a lot of cases, anything that's not flagged green, when I looked down it, that the reasons why that is the case is, in I believe the majority of cases, due to external circumstances which are to a great extent beyond our control. We can't do anything about the way other organisations operate, and we can't do much about the recruitment space at the moment. And so in order to capture what I felt about this overall report, this report reflects, rather than demonstrates, Tom, reflects a council, an authority that is in rude good health and being managed well, and given the circumstances it's operating, I think I would say that it's operating very well. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor, for your comments and your feedback about the report.
Speaking strategically then, Mr Chairman, I beg to differ. I think this report demonstrates that the Council is doing well in most areas and always has done. But in the areas of projects, there are parts of this district which have had very high housing growth, which are not getting the investment in projects and services they need to support their communities. If you don't believe me, I can forward you the emails from residents.
Anybody else? No? Right. Can we take the report as noted then, please, members? All those in favour? Thank you. So sorry. Thank you, members. So we will now proceed with item number 7, which is the decision plan. Members, the report for this item is set out on pages 64 to 66 of your agenda. Please can I invite Jessica Mann, the Scrutiny Officer, to present this report to the committee. Jessica.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, this is a brief report which we felt it would be useful to bring to the committee, just to give a bit further context into the decision planner and basically its purpose and the committee's remit in relation to the decision planner. So in accordance with the Council's scrutiny arrangements, which are set out in Article 9 of our Constitution, the remit of the committee includes considering decisions of the Council relating to the discharge of Cabinet functions before and after they are put into effect, as I'm sure you all well know. So the Council's decision planner, it gives notice of key decisions and they are published on the website and cover a 3-month period. I should just highlight that the dates of decisions that are to be taken are indicative and the earliest dates of which they will be taken. Once the decision planner is published, all members also receive, they are copied into the email of that, so you will all have received those decisions, that notice of the decision planner even. Apart from that, there's not a huge amount to highlight, other than to say that it is available on the website for all members to view, and the public can obviously view those as well. And was there anything else that needed to be mentioned there, Michael, I think?
No, obviously the reason why it comes before the committee is to see if there are any decisions on the horizons that would be of interest to the committee. As set out in the report, you are advised of the circumstances in which you can examine. So that the call-in provisions, as you know, are related to the key decisions which are going to be taken by Cabinet. as Jess says, the notice of the decision plan gives the statutory 28 days notice of those decisions to be taken. Calling generally comes in once the Cabinet has taken the decision and there's a strict time period for doing that. But it's also within your jurisdiction to explore any topics which are on the decision planner which the Cabinet are due to take. So if there's, it's really for members to have a look at the decision planner, and if there's any items of particular note that you want to have some explanation on, or have concerns around particular key decisions, this is the opportunity to identify those, and then we will take a piece of work forward with those.
Thank you. Do members have any questions that they'd like to raise in respect of the decision planner and what we've just heard? No. Thank you. So can I take it the report has been noted, please? All those in favour? Thank you. The report has been noted. Members, as we have no urgent business for this evening, this item concludes our business for this evening. Our next scheduled meeting is due to take place on the 19th of November 2025, and I will therefore close the meeting at 20:35. Thank you very much, and safe journey home.